How we doing? Are we live? All right. Jessica, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Should we wait a couple minutes to see if anyone joins?
Yes, please. And we have people on.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So we are going to be doing a fast fade for those who are joining us right now. I'm so excited to be sharing these tips with you. My name is Meghan Harrah. We're going to take a second just to see who can pop on within the next minute. But if you are joining us, we're going to be doing a fast fade on our friend Eric here. I am so excited to teach you some tips and tricks.
Hit the ground running, sister.
All right.
Good.
Sounds good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my first live. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Meghan Harrah. Just to give you a little background on myself, I was prior military, and while I was in the military, that's when I did my first clipper cut. I got out of the military, and here I am 15 years later, and I'm still doing a ton of clipper cuts. And this is pretty much what I will do to try to get in some clients in between colors, and it's just a great way to add value to your tickets. So first off, Jessica Mills will be kind of just doing any Q&A, so if you have any questions while we're going. Jessica Mills, thank you so much for having us, or having myself on here today. Jessica is the VP of Education and Shows. So if you have any questions, she is here to kind of relay any questions. So feel free to ask as we are going into this haircut. First off, I do have my client caped. As you can see, I do have a mask on. I'm going to use gloves during this haircut because of all the new COVID policies, and you know, just be safe. So I enjoy using gloves while doing clipper cuts anyways, mostly because of the haircuts. They're so short, the hairs are so short, and sometimes they kind of get stuck in between your nails and whatnot. So this is a great way to kind of speed up my time in between clients, to use new gloves in between for every client. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by really just looking at Eric's head. We're going to look at the shape, make sure that he doesn't have any divots or anything in within the head. Well, we're looking to be, for our end result, we kind of want something like this. So we're going to do almost a 0 fade into a 0A, and then this is a 3.5 up at the top. Now, I just want to make sure everyone understands this is a fast fade. So this is something for someone that has an appointment every 2 to 4 weeks. These are what I call my money makers. This is also my security. So they generally book out for 6 to 12 months ahead of time. So I can look at my schedule and know that I have these gentlemen or ladies in my chair because they know that they want to get their haircut every 2 to 4 weeks. So, you know, this is something that I can knock out quickly while I have a glaze, or while somebody's processing for a haircut or for a color, my apologies, even a treatment. So I generally can get this fade done in about 20 minutes. Again, I saw Eric 3 weeks ago, so I don't have to do a ton. A lot of times it's really just a dusting on top, and it's just, we're focusing mostly on the fade. Because this is what usually drives them crazy the most. So, Jessica, do you have any questions before we get started? Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to establish our, well, just to kind of back up for 1 second. So I want to talk about my tools and the reason why I use these tools. I find that, you know, with all the tools that I've used in the past, this is something that has helped me speed up my time behind the chair. So I use a detachable blade. The detachable blade to me is super important because you want to make sure that you're getting the most precise and precision haircut. So I have found that you get a sharper look and finish with a detachable blade. These can be a pricey investment, but I will encourage you to do it if you are looking for something to really speed up your time. If you're using a clipper that's not performing, you're gonna go over that same section 3 or 4 times, when I can go over it once or twice, so you know, you can see if I'm speeding up that process by 50 to 100 different passes throughout one haircut, obviously I'm gonna be shortening that time frame. So I use the Officer 76. This is their cordless, which has been game-changing for me. Personally, you know, I like to have a couple different clippers out sometimes when I'm working, and with all the different cords, it was just a lot. So now that we have the opportunity to have something that's as high-powered as a plug-in, this is really beneficial. So I'm not losing the power. They've managed to be able to kind of secure the power within like a rechargeable battery, which is amazing. So I like this clipper. I got my detachable blades. These can run anywhere from like $20 to $50. So again, I have usually 2 or 3 sets going so that I can clean and sanitize my gear in between each client. So, you know, as you can see, it is a little bit of an investment, but I promise you the time will be well spent. I use the Babyliss trimmer. I swear I've gotten every Babyliss or every trimmer on the market. This trimmer, again, I only have to make 1 or 2 passes. It gets the job done. I'm really happy with the finish on this trimmer. So you want to use a trimmer that is super sharp. You want to keep your tools sharp. You want to keep your clippers sharp. That's what's going to, you know, speed up your time for doing this. I never use my trimmers when cutting hair. I only use my trimmers for edging, and that will keep the blade sharper. Last, I usually use a bald fader. Bald fader is really great for when you're trying to get any of the neck hair, or like, you know, for example, on this mannequin, you know, we can use the bald fader around the edges just to give them a couple extra days. I mean, and that's all they're really looking for, is just to be shorter, longer. So the bald fader really is nice to kind of finish the edges with those. And so I'll kind of walk through that. Lastly, your combs. So a barbering comb is going to be super important. I wouldn't use a cutting comb over a barbering comb. So the difference, obviously, as you can see, one is flatter. The barbering comb is super flat. It's also longer. This is great for finding the shapes of the head. So when you're using a comb on one of the head, or a head, I should say, the advantage of it being long, you will be able to find your corners easier, and finding the rounds of the head, it will become easier if you have a larger comb. So I would encourage you to get some sort of barbering comb, one that works well for you. Last, you got your cutting comb, and then a tapering comb. So this I usually use if people have a really hard calyx, or sometimes around their beards. So that kind of is the rundown on my gear. Obviously a water bottle. I'll have a brush to make sure to get any of the little fine hairs off of my clients. I do have a lot of lawyers, and they're going back to work, so I don't want to leave any hair, you know, on their suits or anything like that. So I really try hard by using a blow dryer and a brush, a clean brush for every client. These are really cheap, so I have like 15 of them. I just dispose of them, and at the end of the night, I clean them all. So just have a nice clean brush for all your clients, and try to keep your area nice and clean and organized. I'm going to talk about keeping your tray organized to help you through your fade, so you don't lose track of your lines. So just try to stay as organized as possible when you're working on your, off of your cart. All right, so now that you know the tools, I'm going to explain the process. So before I get into that, Jessica, do we have any questions on the tools?
No, we're good.
All right, awesome. So we're going to start the process. Now the process is really just trying to figure out where the fade can be. You know, I can't I can't tell you how many times clients come to me with pictures of maybe like a drop fade, meaning that fade line kind of goes down really low and follows that hairline. Maybe it looks great on the client, the picture obviously that they're showing you, but it may not necessarily always look great on the head shape that you're working with. So I think it's really important to kind of figure out where exactly your rounds are and where you can establish a drop fade. The other thing you really want to keep in mind are cowlicks and where they are, directions of the hair flow. So, sometimes one of these cowlicks can go right up into the hairline. And if that's the case, you're really going to be struggling with that if your fade line is trying to go through a cowlick. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind when looking at their hair for the first time. Obviously, Eric and I have been working together. Like I said, I see him every 3 weeks. I could probably do this haircut with my eyes closed. I know right now, he's one of my fun clients. He likes to change it up every once in a while. So right now we're super short. We were super long. We had something really, something fun going to the side, a brush back. And he has a nice wave. So it's fun to kind of play with that. But, the last couple times we took him really short and we did this nice crop or Caesar, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's a great class to start my lives with because it's like the basic fade, in my opinion. So we're going to find the canvas. So usually what I say is I start with my 3.5. Now when I use my 3.5, I'm going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to use a barbering comb to find the round of the head so that when my when my clippers hit my barbering comb, it's going to come off and I won't be compromising any of that weight line through the round. So I'm going to use my clipper and my comb together. I also feel that is another class that we can save for another day. So if you guys are interested, please subscribe and follow, comment below, because we want to hear, what you guys are interested in learning. And I would love to come back, and I would definitely love to do some beards. Clipper over comb can be a whole class in itself. So if you're interested, let us know. All right, so I'm going to go in. And I'm going to start pretty low. Now, I don't really see a ton coming off. So I'm going to go higher up the head. Now, when I am working in the shape of the head, I'm going to work a C shape. So you really want to stand center to the head. And when you go in, you want to come off of the head. Now, Eric's hair on top is not really long enough for me to kind of use a barbering comb, but just in case, I would go to that round and kind of establish that line, and you can see it right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with my 3.5. I'm going to follow the direction of the hair. So you can see my clipper is naturally coming off of the round right there. So it's starting to leave some of that weight line, which you will see once I finish this section. So right here with the cowlick, I'm just going to have you tilt so you can see. You can see his cowlick is right here. I want to leave the hair in its natural state. I mean, most people don't want to deal with the cowlick is the reality. So if you can try to leave this as natural as possible, we can cut it with scissors to really try to tame the cowlick later. And again, that can be like a whole nother scissor cutting class that we can do to really try to help with unruly hair, right? But what I want to do around this area is I want to use my barbering comb to not cut into that cowlick. Now, even though his head may be, no, don't take this in offense, Eric, but you might have a little bit of a flat head back here. So like right in here, it tends to kind of flatten. So if I go in with my clipper, I could very easily go through that cowlick, which would bring me up here because of how his head is flat. So I need to be very careful to use my comb to make sure that I can keep that weight line to give them the illusion that that hair is heavier, and we're gonna keep a weight line like a little bit lower in the back. And again, not going into the cowlick and maybe causing more of a havoc for him than we want to give him. We want to make his life easy. We want this to be an easy haircut. We definitely want him to come back. Once I've established my canvas, as I like to call it, this is my canvas, right? My fade is my, like, what I'm going to be drawing on this head shape. Once I establish it, then I'm going to put my fade line in. That I'm going to kind of establish by just like looking at the shape of his head, seeing where it might look best on his head shape. Okay, so now that everything is like a 3.5. Again, I don't spend like a ton of time going over everything underneath. I really just want this fade line right now, and then I'm going to go in and put my bottom fade line. Then we're going to work in between, and I'll show you step by step on how I go through that. So again, this is my 3.5. I know on Eric we go pretty short, so I'm going to start back here where I see my hairline, and I create that line. So I'm going to follow this. We are in downtown Lowell, and we have a car alarm going off. Jessica, do we have any questions?
Not about what you're doing right now, but I have a question.
Yes.
I know that you have a really strong men's business. How did you build that business?
Well, originally, I did have a lot of clients from the military. So when I was in the military, that's when I kind of started cutting hair. So when I went to cosmetology school, it was really easy for me to get those clients in my chair so that I could like work with them. They didn't really teach a lot of barbering skills, unfortunately, in cosmetology school, which I was like super disappointed in at the time, because that's really, I am just like in love with the barber scene, I guess. I just love that feeling that you get when you go into a barber shop and everyone kind of like knows your name. And I wanted to create that same feel in my shop, even though I was a salon. And I ended up just doing a lot of men's cuts. And I love doing clipper cuts or like precision cutting. I just find it to be very relaxing, and I enjoy my clientele that comes along with it. I mean, I have a lot of gentlemen and ladies that both rock some clipper cuts, and it's fun. They're usually, I can have anywhere from 4 to 10 clients in a day, and they're just kind of like, it's a quick turnover, so it's entertaining, to say the least. Does that answer your question?
I know what you mean. I do have another question. This is from Julie. Do you always start off with a 3.5?
Yes, so either a 3.5 or a 2. So depending on like really where and hi Julie, depending on where I want or how long it's gonna be. So if it's a really long haircut, then I'm gonna be using my comb and a 3.5 to be coming off of the head. You know, with our friend Eric here, we're doing kind of like a high and tight kind of fade. So you know, I knew that I would be taking a 3.5 to the round, but that's a great question. I mean, a lot of times if I'm just like, if I know I'm going this short, maybe I'll put a 2 on because a 2 can usually cut a little bit faster. I'll take the 2 and I'll just kind of get the length out of the way. Again, that the comb over clipper could be a whole nother haircut, you know, experience that we could share on a different day. But you know, so that would probably be my answer. So on Eric, like I said, I knew I was going to take a 3.5 to the top. And again, you know, this is a fast fade. This is something that I can like really knock out really quickly and not have to do a lot of comb over a clipper or even do a lot of scissor work. I mean, by the time I'm done with this fade, it's going to look like he got a whole new haircut, even though I just did the sides. So,
right.
Thank you.
I have another question for you because I was watching you kind of I call it chisel out your perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some key points you can give to people that maybe aren't really embedded with barbering that are trying to do so? Like, what are some keys? Because as a barber myself, that's tricky.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously practice and good tools. I mean, I can't say enough how much the tools are important. But when you're looking, I do have a mirror over here. So what I'll do is I'll bring it back to you. But this is actually a perfect example. If you were to look at where I started on this side, when I look in the mirror, I almost want to be able to put a finger on the side of his head and then, you know, look into the mirror and it should line up. If you are a stylist that doesn't use your mirror very often, when you start barbering, you really need to use that mirror. Mostly because we get so engulfed in how tedious this work is that we kind of get too in love with it and we need to step back a little bit. And that mirror really allows us to be able to do that. So if I could give any tips and tricks to that and, you know, chiseling out or, you know, laying out your platform. Something Amber said the other day that I thought was fantastic is she really, you know, compared hair coloring to tile work. And I was like, oh my God, I can see that in barbering. And really trying to piece together exactly, you know, where these fade lines are going to go and how it fits the head. So I really loved that analogy. So I'm going to start by looking in the mirror to finish this fade line. Now what I did was I found the hairline and then I kind of went up from there because I don't want to chisel out the line over his ear because this will allow me to kind of have a little bit of wiggle room. How many of you have like put in the line to try to like do this and then the next thing you know you're all the way at the top? Jessica, I'm sure you've felt that fear, right? Back in the day when you're barbering, I mean, you know, the going too high with a fade and it's like it's so easy to do it, right? So, you know, we want to keep that fade line as low as possible and then we'll work it up if we need to. So I'm not going to put the line on in over the ear, but I will bring it out in front. So then that now, and I can look in the mirror to see that I want to go higher.
So I have another question for you.
Go for it.
How do you charge? First visit versus a cleanup?
So, So it really depends. If they know they want to be in and out within like 15 minutes with no wash, then we have a lineup fee, which is around $20. You know, I am in the city, but that's not like a big city by any means. So you really just need to kind of stay within your city limits kind of thing and feel where you feel comfortable. My pricing, I mean, it was $15 when I started, and now our men's cuts are around $35. So, you know, it's just, we go up every year because of the economy and everything. I mean, this year with COVID, we experienced a huge fee in our PPE gear. So, you know, we needed to kind of compensate for that fee that we're starting to collect within the salon. So you just gotta charge what you think is right. Obviously in the salon, they're gonna get the full experience of a shampoo and all that stuff. Like I said earlier, I do have a lot of lawyers and stuff. They go back to work. They really want that rinse. And they don't get that experience in a barber shop. So I enjoy adding that experience to our services. So before I go on, so now I just want to kind of show everyone a little diagram, just something really quick. So we put our 000 line in, right? That kind of came up in front even just a little bit on Eric. Every shape head is different. So I got my 0 and I got my 3.5. So now we need to start working in between. What I like to do is I like to skip a blade. So I'm gonna go from my 0, 0, 0 to a 1 to a 1.5 to a 3.5. And then that way, everything in between are going to be, you know, blenders. They're gonna blend the fade. So I'll explain that as I go, but I just wanted to kind of show you what that looked like. And then I'll have my friend Ed here kind of show you what I do with my blades on my tray, so you can see what that looks like. Because at this point, I'm really gonna be shifting, you know, from blades to blade, and it's gonna go kind of quickly at this point. So I already have my 3.5, and I usually just place my 3.5 on my cart at the very top. Now, anything in my tray has also been sanitized, so I'm not going to take my 3.5 and put it back in my tray, so I'm just going to put it onto my cart. I like to use a white towel so I can see exactly what I'm doing with each blade. And I just think it keeps it nice and clean looking for everything that's going on. So I'm gonna drop down 2 blades for my 3.5, right? So I have a 2 and then I have a 1.5. So I'm going to take my 1.5. If I can blend between a 3.5 and a 1.5, then when I put that 2 on, all it's gonna do is just take away any of those little hairs that I missed. So that's going to kind of just speed up your process right there, because you're skipping a blade in between. The other thing is always use your pump on your chair. You want to make sure that everything is eye level and so that you can see it clearly. And again, we're always going to be using our third eye, which is our mirror. So now, this is my 3.5, my canvas is all a 3.5. So I'm going to go on with my 1. Now remember, the 2 is right here. It's about a 1/2 inch down from the round of the head. So as I get close to the round of the head, my C shape is going to come in and I'm going to lift off. Now if I can blend this to my 2, it will be faster and you'll work less later.
Hey Meg.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you, at the end, post on the page the visual? Everyone's loving that visual that you just showed.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, so you can see a little bit of a line there. Sometimes when you're really close, you really can't see it, but if you were to turn them around and put them into the mirror, you have a better visual. You probably have a better visual from just with the camera angle. Again, I'm going with the round of the head. A lot of things that I see out in the field, just keep in mind these blades have an angle on them. That needs to be anchored to the head. That's how you find the round of the head. So this needs to be on the head. It needs to be following it, and then it comes off. It's the C shape that you need to, find that motion. A lot of times we're going in like this, and it can feel, it's a little uncomfortable. So again, I'm not, focusing a ton right here because I will be going over it. My fade is right in here. I'm working that inch from the top, and I'm working my way down. And I know that this is where I'm working towards. So right now I got my 3.5. I'm sorry, my 3.5 is at the top, and then I'm using my 1.5. Here's my 2, but I haven't put on a 2 yet. I'm blending from a 1.5 to a 3. I'm skipping a step, and I'm skipping that step because if I can fade in between, it's just gonna go faster. Sometimes depending on the color of the hair, if they have darker hair color, you can see the lines. You'll see my 3.5, you'll see my 1.5, you'll see even maybe like my 1 or 0. But then once I go back and I put those blades on that I skipped, it cleans it up, and all of a sudden your fade's perfect. So I'm going to place my 3.5 there. So again, just to show you, we've done the 3.5. We did the 1.5. Now we're gonna go in with the 1.
So Megan, will you show us how you took off the blade and put on the blade?
Mm-hmm. So on the austers, you have to put the blade on actually while it's running. You don't want to you don't want to slam this down. The reason why is there's like a little toggle in there, and when it's running, it catches the blade and it keeps it going. If you slam this down and then turn it on, that toggle it doesn't find its place, and sometimes you can actually break the clipper. So you really want to make sure that you turn the clipper on. You place the blade onto the little lever, and then you close it.
Excellent. Also, would your approach be any different? Let's say you had a mature client with some gray. You know how gray looks when you clipper it, right?
Yeah.
Is your approach any different, or do you just...
No, not usually. I will say that I do utilize our men's color line a lot when it comes to stuff like that. Mostly because it's so easy. We have a 5-minute color line in Keune that I like to call it a rejuvenating treatment. It really gets them. But it just it darkens their grays and kind of shadows the silvers. So it just kind of like gives the hair a little bit of life. And if you are doing like a really strong fade and they have, some patterns that are like bothering, especially if they're going this short, you can take that 5-minute color line and just kind of like color it in and then fade it really fast. It's a really quick, easy fix for if you're having some problems with shadowing. And literally you use maybe 1 or 2 grams to kind of shadow in that patch that might be kind of like messing with your eye. But just remember, it's all an illusion, really. But that would be a really great opportunity for you to use the men's color line. Alright, so I'm going to go in with my 1, remember, so I got my 3.5, I got my 1.5, now I'm going to go in with my 1. I have a 1A in between, so I'm still skipping my steps. I'm going to go in, and as soon as I see where I want that line, I'm going to come off of that head. Now, this is that area that's kind of flat on Eric, so I really have to not, trust the shape of the head necessarily in this point. I need to come off of it so that I create that illusion that we still have, like, that it's more round than flat, right? So I'm going to come through here. I'm going to imagine that shape being a little bit more on 45, and I'm going to keep that going. Now up in here, you know, I might be coming off of the head right in here, but when I'm coming off of the head in this area, keep in mind, I do not need to use the whole blade. I might just actually use half of it, sometimes maybe like 2 or 3 little combs. So keep that in mind, because I see that a lot out there too. You know, we kind of go in and it's like you're using the whole 1.5 inches on a round head. It almost doesn't make sense. I almost wish these things were curved, you know, to kind of go with the shape of the head, because a flat surface on a round head doesn't make sense. So you really have to kind of create that C shape. So you can see that line. I'm going to come in here, and as I'm going around the ear, I'm going to follow this 0. And again, I'm only using about half of that blade. I'm going to take my comb, my brush, and just kind of clean up the area. Again, I'm going to be working right in here. How does that look on screen? Can you really see those lines? All right, so remember, I can fade that line out with my 1A. The other thing I notice out there is everyone, like, once in a while I'll see that someone doesn't get, like, all the clippers. Like, they'll skip the 1A. I do not think that is a good idea. Your 1A in your set is almost like the golden nugget. You don't want to skip any of them if you want to kind of work on these precision cuts. The difference between a 1 and a 1.5 is a lot. So that 1A really will help you blend. And you can see, you know, like you almost don't see the line that I have up here, although it will disappear once I put my 2 on. You definitely see the line that I'm creating with the 1, because again, there's a huge difference between the 1 and the 1.5. So make sure that when you get your clipper set, when you start collecting them, that you get all of them, especially the 1A.
Hey Megan, I think it would be great if we did a shout out to everyone watching, like share their biggest challenges with doing a fade, because obviously you're the pro, and maybe you can guide them.
Oh my gosh, I think that like men's cutting and like, or, you know, I hate to even say men because so many women are getting clipper cuts nowadays, like, but, you know, I love doing this kind of work, and I love seeing stylists out there trying to increase their barbering skills. And within the last couple of years, our industry has changed when it comes to barbers are a little bit more integrated in with cosmetology, and I am like, you know, I really don't want this to go away for, I hope it's not a trend, you know. I really foresee gentlemen kind of coming to us as stylists because we do include that shampoo, because we know how to work with our scissors. You know, when we launched 1922, which is, you know, our collection for our men, I was out there with other barbers, and one thing I thought was interesting is, you know, when I was in the salons, the stylists generally didn't know what to do with the clippers. When I was in the barber shops, they didn't know what to do with their scissors. So, you know, as stylists, there's a huge shout out to you guys, and I'm so excited that we have this line to share with you guys to really help launch more of, you know, this security for men's cutting in the salons. And this is just a great opportunity for you to, you know, really add something to your ticket. At the end of the day, you know, you can get a quick men's cut in between your color processes, and, you know, if you have weird hours, like a lot of times you can get these guys or ladies to come in during their lunch break, which is really great. All right, because of time, I just want to move on. So we have like this is our 000. So now I'm dropping down a blade one more time. I'm putting on my 0A, and at this point, I'm really just hitting that line that I created with my trimmers. And I'm coming off. You can see my C shape is really tightened up now at this point. I'm hitting that line and it's coming off.
So Megan, we have some new friends that joined us. Can you tell us why you're using the A1?
So I'm using that 0A.
Oh, I'm sorry, 0A.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, for those who just joined us, I am doing a fast fade. I'm just showing you guys my little tips and tricks that I do behind the chair to create a faster fade. Something that, you know, hopefully you can get more men in your schedule, or men or women, by, you know, learning some skills. Like I said, I generally book my clients out for the whole year. All my regulars, or what my fast faders, they're seeing me anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, and they're really not skipping those appointments. And a lot of times, if I can do a quick fade on them, you know, I don't really have to cut the top of their hair, because I know I'm going to see him in a couple weeks. So it really depends, you know. But Eric's one of my clients. What do we do? 3 weeks? So we go every 3 weeks. Eric's also in my book for all of 2021. You know, and this is like something that I can look at my future and kind of see that I have the little bit of job security. And, you know, it's nice to see that. A lot of times our female clients, our color clients, they don't generally like to book out that far, but I have no problem booking my every 2 weekers for the whole year, which is really convenient. How many times has this happened to everyone? These masks have definitely been a challenge for sure. So, anybody having any challenges with the masks or with any of their procedures? I mean, things are so different in our industry right now, and it's just it's interesting to see how we're all adapting and overcoming. But okay, so I'm gonna go in with my 000. I'm gonna now, at this point, I have used my 000, my 1, my 1.5, and my 3.5. So now I'm going to go back down. I'm going to clean all these sections up again, but this time I'm going to go up the ladder with my blades. So I'm going to start with my 000. I'm going to hit the bottom. I'm going to go up to my 0A, my 1, my 1A, my 2, my 1.5, my 2, and then my 3.5, and I'm pretty much done with this haircut. I will easily just style the top with my favorite classic gel in our 1922 line, and Eric's on his way. So as I finish this up, if you have any questions, if not, I'm just going to kind of touch base on the product line. I really love the 1922 fragrance. If you haven't smelled it, it just smells so manly, but at the same time, I can wear the perfume all the time. I wear it. We do have a perfume. We have our pups. I think we usually use like a paste on Eric. but today I wanted to finish it with the gel. I just love the way it looks, and it has a nice high shine. Now again, I'm just going through this bottom section, cleaning it up.
Meg, we have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would the numbers be in wall?
And the walls, so you have like just a number system on those, so you're gonna have a 0.5, I believe, and then it goes into a 1. Again, those are gonna be the plastic clips that you put on top of your blades. I have them. I love my JRLs. They're really great for specific haircuts. Again, that's not something, I'm not going to use the plastic guards on something like this just because my austers would be faster and a little bit more precise. So if you were to use those, you're going to be probably taking, not going any higher than a 1.5 on your walls. So you would have to get one of those bigger combs for a 3.5 and work your way up, if that makes any sense. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay, good.
John, unfortunately, had to join us late, so can you just tell him again what brand of clipper you're using?
What clippers I'm using?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm using the Osters 76s. This is a wireless clipper. I mean, I've just been nothing but impressed with this clipper since I got it. It makes life so much easier. I can, I'm not connected to anything anymore. So I use the Oster 76 octane, I believe they're called. So yeah, and then I use the Babblish trimmers. So that was my 0A. Now I'm putting my 1 back on. I'm just gonna kind of hit this area. Be careful, don't work too fast. When you're starting off too, like when you're talking, sometimes you kind of get distracted and you go too high. So really just like slow down, make sure, especially with this one, because this one, if you go past that line you've already created, you're gonna start moving that fade line a little too high, and that's what we're not looking for. So again, I haven't done my 1A. My 1A is just going to make that line disappear, so you'll kind of see that on screen.
How often do you cut the top of his head?
I would probably do it like every other time, and it also just really depends on time. So, if I could cut the sides with the clippers really quick with the comb over clipper. I could probably do the top even with the comb over clipper just to kind of shape it up. And then, really give them a nice scissor cut every other time. So as you can see, this line has just kind of dissipated. Now I'm going to put my 1.5 back on. This is just to kind of clean it up, just to see if I missed anything. I'm pretty confident it looks good, but every once in a while you'll see those little hairs kind of shoot off like I missed one.
So Julie would like to know if you can give them a demo on how to blend sides of the beard into that.
Yeah, I would love to do a beard class. Eric would probably like me to do a beard class too. We kind of stopped with the beards, but for the meantime, but we're definitely looking forward to going back to that. But so before I move forward, how does that fade look? I'll show you how to blend the sides, but this is a quick, fast fade. Just before I go into blending the beard, I would usually just take my bald fader. This thing can be kind of loud. Excuse me. So usually what I do is I take this and I will just clean up around the edges. And this will definitely give him like a few extra days. The trick to this is you want to make sure that you have trimmed this hair down as short as possible. You don't want to go over this, you know, with longer strands of hair because it will grab that hair and it doesn't feel great. So I've cleaned up the back, and then I will blend that beard.
So you mentioned earlier about shampooing. So typically in a day in the life of Meghan in the salon, do you shampoo them after?
Yes, 100%. Hold it here. So this is when I have them participate. I usually just have them hold their mask up at their cheek, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend this. So again, I'm going to throw on my, well, I know this is a 0, right? So if you want to try to find that length, then put on your 3 just to make sure, because you never want to take these guys too short. So that's not touching anything. So I'm going to actually drop down to a 1.5 because his beard is shorter. You know, my partner's beard is massive, right? So I actually take a 3.5 with a comb to come off on his beard because of the length of it. But Eric's beard's really short, so I'm gonna put my 1.5 on, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stretch that skin. You can see how I'm pulling the side of his head, and I'm gonna come in at an angle. So his beard, you know, just by going over it, it's probably around a 2. This length right in here, so that's a 1.5. Now I'm going to take my 1A, and remember, I kind of came in at an angle right there. It blended nicely. I'm going to take a couple of the little combs and go into the line, but I'm not going to use the whole thing. I want to keep some of the length. Keep in mind, he does have like a little bit of a gap right there, so I don't want to go too, I mean, eventually it's going to be a 0, but, you know, just keep in mind some guys do get a little patchy in that area. So that is my 1, and as you can see, it's starting to fade really nicely. I will put my 0A on there.
So Meghan, we have a question from our friend Debbie from the Netherlands.
Hi, from the Netherlands, yes.
Yeah, so she's awesome. She's always with us every week. All of our viewers are. Could you shave instead of bald fading?
So, in the Netherlands, I don't really know how it works, but in the United States, you're supposed to have a barbering license to be able to use a straight edge blade. So in Massachusetts, the rules are that technically, because I am not a licensed barber, I cannot use a straight edge, but I can use a feathered blade. So a lot of times what I would use is a nape razor. So the nape razors, these are great. They have a little bit of a feathered blade, and I can get extremely close with this, and it's legal for me. So, you know, if you're capable and you know you feel comfortable using a straight edge or a nape razor, these are great tools. Again, I just use the bald fader so that it literally just makes it feel like I just had a baby. So it makes it feel like a little baby's skin, you know, and nice and soft. So, you know, I can use this blade and I can really chisel this out. You know, I don't have a ton of clients that really like a detailed chiseled look, but it definitely is nice to have to kind of like, you know, soften that edge a little bit, and you can go around the ear. And sometimes, you know, I'll help them, you know, right now with the whole masks, it's unfortunate, but I'll help them try to like find and establish a line. So that is pretty much it. Eric, I'm gonna have you put that back on. I'm gonna use our classic gel. So the packaging is also my favorite. Everything's like super apothecary. It's beautiful. We carry the whole line in our shop and it just does really well. Again, the fragrance is to die for. So I'm just gonna use a little bit. His hair is dry. Again, I didn't do anything. I didn't do a tie clipper over comb with him. His hair is dry. I probably would have dried it with a blow dryer. I'm always showing my guests how to style their hair. You know, a lot of times they're showing us these photographs and we have to explain to our guests that those are styled, they are using product. It's very rare that we see some of this editorial work that doesn't have product. So explaining to your clients that product is a necessity and making sure that they go home with that product so that your haircuts look amazing out on the street. So that's all I got for you guys today. I showed you again, you know, just kind of how to blend that really quickly into the beard. I would love to come back if you guys are interested. I'd love to come back and show you a full beard trim. That would be amazing. And we can use some of we have a shaving cream that smells amazing, so we can maybe play with that. But yeah. Got any last minute questions, Jessica?
No, babe, he looks amazing.
Does he?
Thank you.
All right, well, this was so much fun, and thank you, Keune. Thank you, Jessica. I can't wait to come back.
We can't wait to have you back.
All right, well, thank you. And stylists, if you have any questions, feel free to message me anytime on Instagram. My handle is Meghan Harrah. And I would love to help you behind the chair and being successful with some clipper cuts. Bye, guys.